The Vanquishing Evil Management Initiative.
Tim Wenzel.
How you doing, man?
I'm good. It's good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you. It's been a long week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exciting week.
Really? Tell me about it.
Yeah. We're coming up toward the end of the year. It's the time when people think about planning for next year. They think about evaluations. They think about, I got to accomplish this many things before we get to the holidays. So it's starting to feel a little bit crushed sometimes.
Well, it is crushed because if you look at my calendar, I have about 5.5 weeks left in the entire year. Now, there's more weeks than that, but you have Thanksgiving, and then you have Black Friday, and then the hangover from Thanksgiving and Black Friday. And then you have the week of Christmas, which maybe you're not on PTO, but you're definitely not working. You have the week before Christmas, which you may be working, but you're literally not accomplishing anything because nobody's working with you. And then you have New Year's. Well, you have New Year's. And then the rest of that week, people are going to be hungover and not really checking in. And the month of January doesn't start until halfway through this first full week after New Year's. Would you agree?
I think that's probably true for a lot of people, yeah. And then there's a big holiday that follows that up right away.
It's a vicious cycle.
Right. And what it brings up for me is, and you and I have taken on this mantle of how do we vanquish evil management, which brings up for me, given we've got such little time, how do we best leverage our leadership to make our people really shine and allow them to step into who they can be and achieve our goals as a business?
Yeah, we got to do some talent management, don't you think?
Yeah, we do. I think that's a great label for this thing. And I trip over it, I got to tell you.
Really?
Because I don't like to think of people as in that way, the way I would manage other kinds of resources.
Well, I mean, there is an entire profession named human resources.
Right.
So don't you think that people are talented?
I think people are extraordinarily and unlimited talented. And if we think about them like we do widgets and anvils, we're going to miss a lot. They won't be as fulfilled as they can.
Go ahead.
They won't be as fulfilled as they can be, and we won't see the whole value of what they bring.
Why don't we think about them a little bit differently then?
All right.
Loud widgets. Just kidding. They're not.
Loud, cranky, whiny widgets.
Sometimes. Largely depends on you, evil manager.
Right.
So here's the thing, right? As managers, as leaders, who's responsible for bringing in the people to work? Who's responsible for filling the organization by hiring?
Well, obviously, I as a leader am responsible for making sure I'm creating the team that gets to my objectives.
It's you. And so we've had an interesting year, right? We've had the, I don't know what they're calling it, the Great Exodus, the Great Migration.
Great Resignation. Great Resignation.
Great Resignation. Awesome. And we've had a year to where everybody hoped we were going to get back to normal. Didn't happen. And the job market opened up. There were a lot more jobs than people, and even very skilled jobs. They're really looking for the top talent, and they've made offers. They've really found those people on LinkedIn and places. They've made offers. And so your talent pool, and I am going to use that word, has changed. Maybe it's diluted. Maybe some people you really relied upon are gone. Maybe it's gotten a little more potent. Maybe some people that left were like welcome departures, right? But going into the new year, right? We're about to settle on budgets. We're about to settle on headcount. Isn't it time to take stock in the people that you have and the seats that they're sitting in, not desks, but the seats that they're driving in? Are they still best suited for where they're at? How can we optimize their role and their opportunities and potential to meet their development needs?
I think you've hit on something that's really core to what's required of leadership, which is you have to do two things. You have to achieve your business goals, and ideally you're also developing your people such that they can be the most fully self-expressed, strengths activated folks they can be.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a firm believer right now you should be meeting with everybody that works under you in your organization. You should probably be meeting with your peer managers as well about their people that work in the tangential organizations to you, and talk about the current talent that you have, the people that you have in their current roles. How are they doing? Are they still the best suited for their role? Or is there another place where they may excel? They could use a challenge. Do you have any people who were doing really, really well, but over this past year and a half, they've kind of faded? Maybe they've gotten a little bit complacent. Maybe they've just gotten comfortable. Maybe they're less engaged. There's a lot of that going on. Have you spoken to your people and said, is this still where you want to be? Or is there an opportunity that you see or that you want or that you hope for? What is the part of your role that you love doing? And what are the things that you hate? Actually, every time I hire somebody new, I talk to my people and say, hey, make a list of the stuff that you want to stop doing. It's a time suck. It's a brain suck. It's a life suck. And let's see what this new job description looks like. Because there is somebody who's geared towards that type of work, right? Maybe not all of it, but when we bring new people in, why don't we make the rest of our people better? Is that possible?
It's crazy talk.
I'm crazy.
You're speaking my language when you talk about putting people in places where they can really leverage their strengths.
Yeah.
The challenge always comes up. Wait a minute. Not everybody can do what they want to do all day long.
Well, I mean, that's why they do call it a job, right? If not, they would call it play.
When you're having these conversations you mentioned with your peers, with your team, what are you asking them?
Well, it's a different conversation with peers and team, right? Team is, how satisfied and engaged are you? Is this what you want to do for the next 2 years? What is the challenge that you crave? What is the thing that you would love to try, but you're afraid that you'll screw it up? Would you rather be somewhere else right now? Would you rather be doing something different right now? And what does that look like? And not take offense. With my peers, I ask them who needs a change in their org. And why do they need a change? What are the symptoms of the problem? Remember, we talked about problem people don't want to be problem people. They don't want to have poor performance. They don't want to be the subject of these conversations. And so let's not talk about people like they are what their outcomes are. There's symptoms that can be addressed to make people just be better, be more full. And let's talk about, do you have anybody that may be useful over here? They would get a change. They would get a new opportunity. They would get a new manager. What types of things could we do together that would create synergy between our departments? Give people new challenges, new opportunities. How can we strengthen the talent bench before we reach out and grab new people who are unknown quantities, right? You don't know what you're going to get. And then you get the thing that like, well, they're always hiring from the outside. They're not promoting from within. Have those conversations. And that's why I always say, we're going to be hiring. What things would you like to shed? Because man, if people say, hey, I don't like doing this anymore, but I've really wanted to do this, we can always design a JD that allows for some of these current roles to be redefined. Now, it does take a little more work if you're the manager, because
right,
you have to do the work. But turnover is super expensive and it's way more work. What say
right.
you?
Right. Yeah, that's the question I had. What you're describing, Tim, goes beyond what we typically think of as the manager's job.
Is it?
What we typically think of as the manager's job. Right? My job is to make sure I have enough people in place to do the work that I need done.
See, I think of a manager's job as, do I have the right people to ease the mental burden of what I need my org to accomplish so that I can focus on the things that I need to focus on and not worry about the other outcomes. I need the right people that I can create autonomy for so that they can do their really good work, maybe their best work most days, and not have to ask for permission, not have to ask for approval because they know. And that creates a little bit of satisfaction for me and for them.
So I was hoping that you would give me your definition of management. Because we think of, we're taught in school and in our early careers, I believe, that management is around allocating resources in the right spot.
Sure.
And what I'm hearing you say is it can be way more than that.
You know, here's the thing, Andy. I didn't go to school. I barely graduated high school, and I never will enroll in college. I'm not a school guy, so I didn't get the toxic advice that everybody else got. 1. 2, why did I get into management and leadership to begin with? It's a pain in the butt. It's way more work than being an individual contributor. But the reason I got into it is because of the culmination of poor leadership and management I had suffered under. The reason you and I started this Vanquishing Evil Management is because, as angry as I would get when I would look back and be like, oh, that person was terrible, I come to realize that they didn't want to be terrible. They just didn't know any better. And the whole reason I lead is because I believe that within a core competency that I excel at, I can create a roof so that people can come and work at the best job in the best role they've ever had. They can come to work worry-free. They can operate with near full autonomy. And there's no fear in their work. That's why I manage.
I think that's brilliant. What an aspiration.
Feels good.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I'm hearing you say, to get to that place of no fear, to working the best role you've ever had, to get to the place where where we're lessening the burden. It's around being really conscious around what people bring and that they really want to do their best work.
Yeah. And when people stumble, we don't discipline because you made a mistake. We only discipline maliciousness, malice, or just blatant disregard, right? Mistakes are mistakes. Failure is failure. We learn from that, but we don't allow people to be defined by their mistakes and by their failures. I mean, because if I was defined by my mistakes and failures, I wouldn't even be accepted in public life, really. And that's how a lot of people feel at their companies.
Right. And that's evil.
They're just lucky to have the job. And that's evil.
Right. So this, going back to where we started, is what we're doing talent management. What I'm taking away from this is that it's not about management as much as it's just simply calling people forth for what they're capable of.
Yeah. You know, here's the thing. I was in a conversation earlier today, a leadership workshop, and somebody read something from research that said basically if you have high expectations of your teams, you will have teams full of high performers. And
people strive to reach the level of their expectations.
Sure. And there was a person who I love and respect who was like, yeah, that's not true. Like, completely not true, because here's what I've seen. And it got to the point where we said, hey, how loyal do you feel to these people? Really loyal. Like, do you have the right people for the expectations that you have? Because if you put expectations that do not align with what that person wants out of their role or out of their work life, there are people who show up to work 9 to 5 because they want to pay for life, because they want something stable. They don't want to move up. They just want to do their job and check out. There's nothing wrong with that. You need those people. But pushing them to massively high expectations, not really something they care about. It's not going to work out. And you need to know the type of people you have and align your expectations with what they want. Otherwise, you're going to have bad performers who just want to come in.
Right.
If you get a high performer, somebody who wants to move up, and you're like, hey, I just need you to do a massive amount of work that everybody can do. Guess what? They're not going to perform very well because they're going to be checked out because they don't want to do the work of the masses like this other person wants to. This other person, they just want to come in and do the work and leave. This person wants to excel, to improve, to do other things, to move up. You have to give them different expectations and different challenges. And the evil sometimes that presents itself in management is when you don't have the right people for what you envision.
Right.
And you try to squeeze them into a role they don't even care for.
Right.
To align them with expectations they could care less about. And that makes them what? A bad employee? Maybe it makes you visionless. I don't know. But you haven't managed your talent.
And and in that world, there aren't any winners. Everybody loses.
Everybody's upset. Everybody's afraid. I try my best to banish all fear from my teams because it's needless. There's no repercussions for trying to figure out the best way to do the job, even when you have a really high stakes job. There's no reason to have fear, worry, and anxiety at the workplace. You need to be able to say, I'm worried about this. I'm struggling with this. I need your help. And as a manager, you either need to be able to be the person that can help, or you need to be able to grab the resource that can come alongside them and help.
Right. So the evil we're vanquishing today is creating work around fear and worry.
And trying to make people do work they're not designed to do,
right,
or that they've outgrown.
Right.
And now at the end of the year, we have a time to realign all the expectations, all the roles, and all the performance issues. Create something for next year that will work better, that will challenge people that want to be challenged, that will enable people that just want steady flow. And you can create the better job descriptions that will actually fill a need on your team. Not your need for your team, but the need your team has because of how they want to perform.
Right. What if our expectations for people were that they can all be successful?
It should be the expectation.
Yeah.
But it begins with good hiring practices. What does the role and job require? How do you know that person is the person for that?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that takes a lot more thought than just throwing a few bullet points to HR and hoping they bring you a good candidate.
Right.
You need to be very thoughtful about what that person looks like, how that person presents in an interview, what type of interview will light up the right person and drive away the others. I'd be like, yeah, if this job's anything like this interview, I want nothing to do with it. Perfect. Because the people that are like, I love this challenging interview structure or this whatever interview structure, they're going to do well. And not everybody in every role, even within the same department, should get the same interview.
Right.
Because you're filling a different seat, a different need, even if they all have the same job title.
Right. Wow. What I'm taking away from this, Tim, is this time of year is a great opportunity for us to rethink the way we approach our work and the way we approach the roles that we have in front of us.
Absolutely.
And we don't have to do it the way we've always done it. In fact, we can do it in a way that really supports people and supports our goals for our business.
Yeah.
Both things are possible.
And you have the opportunity right now with 5.5 workable weeks left to have your team, your department, clear off the week of, let me look at my calendar, December 13th. They're not doing any work with anybody that week anyway. It's the week before Christmas. Clear their calendar, no external meetings. Make it a team-focused week. Fix yourselves. I have my team, I've blocked off their calendars forcefully. And at the top of every day, not an all-day event, it transcends their entire day for 10 hours. They have things like go back through your calendar this year and try to understand when you were at your best, what types of things were you doing? And when you're at your worst, when you were overwhelmed, when you were anxious, what was going on? What types of things were you doing? And make a list of when you're at your best and when you struggled. The next day is make a list of all the commitments that you have, meetings, clubs, XFNs, committees that are not a good use of your time or resources. Make a list of them and why they're not a good use of your time. And then make some notes on, are they redeemable? Could they be better in a different format? Or do they just need to go away? Every year, you need to cut a bunch of fat off your calendar because there's new things coming. Wednesday, we talk about what routine, personally, do you need for next year to be mentally sharp, mentally engaged, and at top effectiveness? And what does that ideal daily structure look like? And we have a meeting that day to talk about what team events and expectations conflict with your ideal day, so that we as a team can try to figure out an optimal environment for most of us. Can't meet every need, but you can understand. You can make allowance. You can make sure people are heard. Thursday, trim all the fat from your calendar, decline the series, and leave a note that says this is no longer valuable to me in this format. And if you feel otherwise, make a single meeting with me to discuss other formats that may meet the need. I did this last year. You know how many people replied? 0. Nobody cared. And then finally, on Friday, revamp your calendar, revamp your commitments, to create the ideal day, the ideal routine, the ideal space for you to be able to do your work and meet your personal and family needs. And then have a really great holiday. Because now you're set for next year and you don't have to think about work anymore.
Right.
But that's management.
That's leadership.
Yeah.
Hey, Tim, would you be willing to share that model with folks on paper?
Yeah. I'll throw it
Cool.
in chat.
Great. Good. All right.
Do we vanquish any evil management today?
Yeah, I think the evil management we vanquished today was around thinking about people in the same way we always have thought about them, instead of what they're capable of.
Yeah. Can people be involved in their own development and their own management?
Oh, people have to be.
Ooh, it makes more work for you though.
Yeah.
It's way easier to tell people what's going on.
What's the mark you want to leave on this world? That I told a lot of people what to do, or I enabled people to step into who they can really be.
Drop that mic right there, Andy. The Vanquishing Evil Management Initiative. I think we got one more episode and then the year's over.
Yep.
See you next time.
See ya. Thanks, Tim.